This video is created for commentary, educational, and transformative purposes. Today, we're exploring a question that almost never gets discussed seriously, but absolutely should be. What if Gennady Golovkin, also known as GGG, fought Manny Pacquiao in their primes? We all know Manny Pacquiao made history by defeating Antonio Margarito to become an 8-division world champion at super welterweight. And let's be honest, Margarito was already the size of a middleweight on fight night. That's not even debatable. So here's the real question. What if Pacquiao didn't stop there? What if he chose the highest possible risk and moved up again? This time to the middleweight division. And what if, in that era, he ran into a prime Gennady Golovkin? A fighter built naturally for that weight. Known for pressure, power, and durability, as you can see, Gennady Golovkin, also known as Triple G, is a very dangerous fighter, especially in the later part of his career. Most of his fights didn't even need the judges. Once he landed clean, the fight was usually over. That's the kind of pressure and power he brought into the ring. But here's the reality. After Manny Pacquiao defeated Antonio Margarito in 2009, Triple G was not a big name in boxing yet. At that time, Golovkin was mostly fighting on European cards, far from the spotlight. Nowhere near Manny's level in terms of fame, money, or global attention. Manny was already one of the biggest names in the sport. Triple G was still building. Now let's change the situation for a moment. Let's say Triple G was already a major name in 2009. Let's say he was already established at middleweight, already respected, already dangerous, and already sitting near the top of that division. And let's say Manny Pacquiao, fresh off his win over Margarito, decided to move up again, chasing something unheard of. Maybe 9 or even 10 divisions. This is where things get complicated. Triple G is not a simple opponent. One small mistake, one bad angle, 1 second of staying too long in range, and he can end the fight. We saw that later in his career, even against someone like Canelo Alvarez, who had to go through tough, close fights just to survive him. This isn't about saying Manny Pacquiao can't fight him. It's about asking a real question. If Manny truly moved up to middleweight and faced a fully established Triple G, what would that fight actually look like? So let's talk about how this fight would realistically look. If Manny Pacquiao actually moved up to middleweight, first of all, there's no way this fight happens at full middleweight. A catchweight would be unavoidable. Triple G is simply too big. His height, his frame, his natural size are all far above Manny's. Even Triple G himself has said in interviews that Manny looks very small compared to him. So if this fight ever happened, both sides would agree on a catchweight. Manny is a massive name, a fighter of the decade, and Triple G would never let an opportunity like that walk away. Once the terms are agreed, now we look at the matchup itself. Triple G's advantages are obvious. He has natural size, heavier hands, and real knockout power. Most of his opponents didn't just lose, they got stopped. He doesn't need many clean shots to change the fight. And unlike some power punchers, he's not reckless. He's technical, patient, and knows how to cut the ring. For Manny Pacquiao, this is unfamiliar territory. Middleweight is far from his comfort zone. He would be fighting a man who lives in that division, who's fully adapted to the weight, the pace, and the damage. Manny's most famous knockout, like the one against Ricky Hatton, came at much lower weight classes. But Manny still has real advantages. His footwork, his angles, and especially his speed. If his speed carries up, that becomes the key factor. His movement, quick entries, and exits could give Triple G problems early on. The issue is this. Triple G is very good at landing punches even on fighters who move well. He doesn't chase wildly. He pressures, waits, and times you. If Manny gets clipped clean, that's where things become dangerous. At the same time, moving up in weight could... Before we continue to the final part of our analysis, if you like this type of content, please subscribe to the channel and help us reach 1,000 subscribers this year. Your support really helps us create better quality content moving forward. Alright, let's get back to it. So let's say they actually fight at a catchweight. This is my personal analysis of how that situation plays out. If the fight happens at a catchweight, Triple G would need to come down in weight, while Manny Pacquiao would need to move up. Manny is the one chasing history here, possibly aiming for a 9th or even 10th division, so the weight gain is on his side. The advantage for Manny is that he wouldn't be drained by the catchweight. Triple G would. Cutting weight always has consequences. For Triple G, losing weight could reduce some of his strength or speed early on. But if the catchweight isn't too far from his natural division, then it probably wouldn't be a major issue for him. For Manny, the problem is different. If the catchweight is too heavy for his body, there's a real chance his speed drops. His movement, footwork, and timing could slow down. And that's a serious problem. Manny relies on speed to avoid damage. If that speed goes, slipping punches becomes much harder. That said, we can't just say Manny automatically loses here. We've seen him take risks his entire career. Back when he fought the so-called golden boy of boxing, there were even concerns from his own country. Some people were afraid he'd get embarrassed on the biggest stage, because he was already seen as a national hero. But we all know how that turned out. Now, when it comes to the final verdict, this isn't simple. A catchweight is a double-edged sword. Manny could benefit because Triple G loses some strength. But Manny could also suffer if the weight slows him down. We've seen Manny fight at super welterweight and still keep his speed from lightweight. But middleweight is a completely different jump. This isn't a small step anymore. This is a long distance. At the end of the day, the fight would be brutal. Triple G owns the strength, the pressure, and the knockout power. That's not debatable. Manny cannot beat Triple G in that department. Where Manny has the edge is speed, footwork, and ring IQ. In those areas, Manny is special, and I don't think Triple G can surpass him there. So whoever wins depends on how the fight plays out. If Triple G lands clean, especially big shots, Manny is done. The issue is Manny's style. He isn't the type to run all night. He doesn't fight like Floyd. There's a real chance Manny chooses to go toe-to-toe. And if that happens, the advantage shifts heavily toward Triple G. I want to be clear here. This doesn't mean Triple G automatically wins. What I'm saying is, if Manny goes toe-to-toe, he's going to lose, plain and simple. There's no way Manny Pacquiao can just knock out Triple G. Why? Because Triple G's neck and jaw are rock solid. Even Canelo had trouble landing a knockout. And many other middleweights have tried and failed. So for Manny to actually take the win, he has basically two options: a unanimous decision or a split decision. He has to rely on avoiding damage, keeping distance, and using his speed. We've seen what happens when Manny gets reckless. Look at Marquez. He knocked Manny out cold. Now imagine if Triple G lands a big punch like that. In the end, if they fight toe-to-toe, Triple G likely wins by knockout. But if Manny plays smart, uses his speed, footwork, and counters carefully, he could win on points, either by split or unanimous decision. It's all about strategy, not just brute force. And at the same time, we need to accept the facts as they are.